What's up, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ethan. We have Aggie. I'm small Trove Geode, and today we're going to be doing something special that possibly is not going to be able to, well, it isn't going to be able to be done anymore from this point onward. We've got over 1,000 Zinyasa's BOON boxes. Now, to give this some concept, I'm actually recording this at the time that Luxian is here. He's not here anymore by the time this video comes out, but originally he ended up actually selling fragments to the Lore Keeper's Dragon Egg, at which point you could end up going into the Dragon Crucible and crafting the egg. Now, some people are still selling the Lore Keeper Dragon fragments, and it's quite a good way of actually getting flux, but in short, you could end up crafting this egg, and then you would loot collect it, and you would end up getting tokens for the boons of 2017, the first boons that were ever added to the game. Clearly, this was not intentional, though, because the developers patched it as soon as they possibly could, which I do still find a little bit strange. Like, I understand why they did it, but I thought this would be a great opportunity to coincide with the fact that Greater Dragon caches are on sale, and these things generally suck, but they're good for getting dragon coins. Now, when Luxian had something like this, even myself, I was going crazy just buying as many Greater caches as I could to end up getting at least enough of the boons themselves, just based off of the credits that I already ended up having in my inventory. I would have, of course, spent a lot more money towards this if they ended up leaving it, because then I could have bought some more of the fragments so that we could have, I don't know, gotten a little bit of flux out of it. But anyways, guys, they ended up rushing as soon as they could, less than 24 hours, to swap those fragments out for the Chaotic Butterfly. Now, the reason why this became a problem in the first place, I think, is because with the fragments and everything like that, like, the developers would have had to make it so that this dragon egg right here was different than the normal Lore Keeper Dragon Egg, and thus they would have had to change the code of crafting the dragon itself into a completely different dragon egg. You know, I personally think that they should have done this, but in either case, you know, we'll see what happens with the Lore Keeper Dragon. Obviously, he's going to come back to Luxian at some point, but I thought that it was kind of funny, just to kind of put things into perspective, that they clearly can adjust Luxian's inventory anytime that they want. I don't think they could do it on console, because I'm pretty sure with PC they patched it like as soon as they could, but then on console they can't patch things that quickly. And the other thing, too, that I thought was very funny about it was just kind of the whole, like, them rushing to end up fixing an exploit, well, a bug, I guess, an error on their part. You know, players just took advantage of it as soon as possible, and it was a bug that was in the player's interest, whereas there's hundreds of bugs that currently plague this game that are very, very difficult for players to deal with. Lots that, you know, such as myself, other popular Trovers have to deal with. And I just found it kind of funny how it's like those bugs, we gotta wait months until a new patch comes out and then just hope, to goodness gracious sake, that they're going to end up coming up with a fix. Like, for example, in the August update, we're supposed to see our map icon actually appear above other players' names. Now, that error came out when the Forbidden Spires biome came out, and we haven't seen a solution to that, and that's something that they could obviously just fix, like, right there and then and there, but then they go and fix Luxian. Anyways, you guys don't care about my ramblings. Anyways, it doesn't matter. So these bad boys right here, I already ended up getting out of a couple boon boxes. I don't really think that it's entirely relevant opening these from zero, you know, because what these are going to end up giving you is just tons and tons of air dust, or not just air dust, but just dust in general. Every time you trigger karma, you're going to end up getting an absurd amount. So anyways, hopefully, fingers crossed, we can end up getting some more Lore Keeper Dragon eggs, so that I can end up getting even more of these boons. But just one little last rant here, guys. From what we've been able to speculate, the reason at which they ended up actually removing the login tokens, like there's no way to get more login tokens, right, is because I think it's just because, like, the developer said it's because people didn't end up using the login tokens as they wanted them to. I'm thinking that based on the fact that so many people, like so many of you guys in the comment section of one of my other videos I put out last week, were saying how you had like 700 Bound Brilliance and stuff like that. So clearly you ended up actually getting the tokens and buying them or saving them so you could end up getting boons and stuff like that to end up getting your hands on as much Bound Brilliance as possible. I think that the developers were expecting to make a lot more sales off of these tokens rather than what most people were doing, where they were just saving them. On top of that, I think that it's been kind of their long-term goal to make Bound Brilliance, a time-gated resource. So we'll have to wait and see, but we do know that very soon they're going to end up adding Bound Brilliance to the power rank leaderboard, which does mean that we're getting more Bound Brilliance per week, but it does still mean that it's a limited resource that you're not going to be able to necessarily have any way, shape, or form of farming. Now, also, one last thing to put this into perspective, that we're opening 1,000 of these bad boys. Now, if you were actually buying these out of the cash shop, the tokens themselves are $5 for 3. Not $5 for 5, which would be a little bit more worthwhile, but $5 for 3 of them. So let me actually figure out how much Zenyatta's boons do we have here in worth of real life money. So if I'm not mistaken here, that would be 286,800 credits, which if we end up taking that number and then dividing it into 18,500, which is the $100 pack, essentially you would have to buy this $100 pack 14 times. So we're sitting here with roughly, what would that be, like 14 times, that would be like $1,400 worth of these boon boxes. And just to kind of reiterate here, guys, like, one of the things that they do in this game, which I do have as a big criticism, that's one of my biggest criticisms of the Geode update, is that this golden egg, let's just take that for example, they charge us through the roof with this golden egg and act like it's a coveted item, and so they end up charging a premium price for an item that of course is not premium, which is one of the big reasons why I think so many people are so turned off about the Geode update, because they're trying to cash in on the whole, like, greater crystal caches and stuff like that, making these the same value of the neon greater caches, when in fact the amount of items and the amount of good things that you can end up getting out of these neon caches is way better than the Geode caches. And I guess, long story short, the point that I'm trying to make is that we're sitting here with $1,400 worth of these boon boxes. Do you think that that's worth it? Like, is this worth $1,000? Nuh-uh. Like, even if I got my numbers a little bit wrong, the fact of the matter is the amount of items that we're going to end up getting out of this, I personally don't think is going to end up being something that's worthwhile. And that's, you know, my point being is, if you're ever going to do anything cash up in the game, go for the credit pouches. I don't know why the developers don't move the game more towards the credit pouches, because Warframe is a prime example of one of the top free-to-play games in the world. And they have the whole credit pouches thing, where they have platinum, which is a resource that you can end up buying with real money, but you can also trade it with other players just as a resource. So more often than not, free-to-play players will end up getting to the end game and getting these items that pay-to-win players will then end up spending their platinum towards to end up getting. And I'm just saying that Trove could definitely stand to move in this direction. Now, I'm sorry that I ended up having such a long boring rant just for an unboxing video, but I wanted to get a point across because I know a lot of people are going to watch this video. So 382 Bound Brilliance, that's what we're sitting here on. I'm hoping that we can at least get up to 700, but we'll see what happens, because it's all just going to end up being RNG. We got lesser caches. Of course, we also got not only the dragon coins, but also just all of these other weird resources and like the lapis bugs and stuff like that. Is that going to end up being something worthwhile? What did I say? 384 or something? 380 Bound Brilliance? Whatever. The Bound Brilliance is the primary resource that we're actually looking at here. Not to mention just the amount of gem dust that we're going to end up potentially getting out of these boxes, which I know that I'm sitting on like 40 each of these boxes at the start of this video, but you gotta understand, guys, that that was only from like 100 of these boons that I already just ended up opening off camera, just because I wanted to see, like, oh, are these things, like, I wanted to refresh my memory. Are these things actually worth getting? And I mean, especially now with, you know, not only free patron passes, but also just the Bound Brilliance being a resource that you cannot farm in any way, shape, or form. Like, you can get homes and junk like that, but you can't get any other means, dude. And not to mention with the U10 update coming around the corner, and I know that technically speaking, you know, this was obviously a very big oversight and a bug. Thankfully, they didn't end up rolling back any of our characters. And I know that I have a part to play in the bug actually getting squished, which a lot of people were frustrated about. But simultaneously, I ended up making a lot of people actually know about it so that they could take advantage of it. And, you know, it's not that I condone exploits or anything like that, guys. I really don't want to come across that way where it's like, hey, take this, you know, like, we're gonna stick it get to them. But more so, it's that when things end up going in the way of the player and actually being something fun, I'm just trying to make a point. Like, it's like, look how many people took advantage of something like this the moment that there was something that was in the player's best interest and was going to end up making the game that much easier. And that's just kind of the biggest point that I have about Trove, is even though I love this game, I absolutely love it, guys. Like, seriously, I've been playing this game for over 3 years, probably sitting on 4 years now. I'm never going to quit. I absolutely love Trove. I think that it's a fantastic game, but I don't feel that it's reached its full potential because, as Trion Worlds has said in the past, they have no idea how to monetize a free-to-play game, and it shows drastically with Trove, where they're trying to, you know, they're trying to milk what little players they still have left because of the lack of optimization of this game, and generally the lack of total endgame content and actual just normal content in the game anyways, that they're trying to just, you know, hit people where it hurts, hit them at their wallets, right? And so when stuff like this comes along and it ends up getting patched as soon as possible, you can't help but kind of laugh, you know, and just think like, we got them, guys. But ironically, we're still playing this game, we're still passionate about this game, and we're still going to end up spending money on this game anyway. So that's kind of the big point that I was trying to get across with this whole, like, why did they end up fixing this? Because if they're in this game to start making some money, they should have left this, because again, I myself would have spent a lot of money on those greater caches, you know, just to end up actually having this as one final swan song. Here, get all the Bound Brilliance. Because now there's some people, you know, that came around on my video of Luxian last week, and they're saying like, oh man, you know, I didn't even get on in time before it was already patched out. And it's like, oh, that does kind of suck, you know, but at the same time, it's like the only people that were really going to take advantage of something like this obviously was going to be pay-to-win players and somebody like myself who's at the end game, honestly speaking, because seriously, we're talking about people that had to spend literally like thousands and thousands of dragon coins in order to end up seeing something worthwhile out of this. But either way, what can I say, guys? Like, I do want to reiterate how much I do love this game and how much I do appreciate the amount of work that does go into this game. I know that a lot of my videos lately have been very critical about Trove, and generally speaking, I've always been very open about my criticisms, and that's something that I learned a long time ago that I just cannot keep bottled up when just playing any type of video game, let alone a game that's so close to my heart that I've been playing for such a long time, that has also become my livelihood, you know, like I'm doing YouTube full time. And it's like, because of that, you know, I can't sit here and I'm not going to be the guy that's just going to be all smiles and say that every decision that they end up making with this game is a good decision, that everything about this game is great, you know, because it definitely has a lot of its flaws, and a lot of it does feel like the game is kind of going in this downward spiral where, even though they're actually delivering a lot of really, really good, strong content in 2018, don't get me wrong, Vanguard being the absolute best highlight of the year so far with the Trove Heroes update, Rampage challenges, and then just a new class in general. But then on top of it, you know, we've got all these other great things coming around. Geode kind of was a flop because, honestly speaking, they went the direction of a phone game in terms of monetary gain, like with the crystals, the metamatter, and all the time-gated content quite literally locking you out of resources and items that are required in order to end up completing Geode by making it take 10 hours to craft a bronze egg and making lodestars absolutely useless and stuff. And you know, they've since ironed it out with the silver and gold eggs that you can end up finding, but the fact of the matter is that I still think that there's a very fine line between, they need to make these things a little bit more accessible for free to play players, because of course they're placating this game towards players such as myself, pay to win. You know, the only way that you can really complete the Geode update is by being pay to win, because otherwise it's going to take roughly 100,000 or 100 million flux. That alone, just for the amount of resources that are involved with it all. And then on top of it, the amount that you have to actually grind. Like, you could be grinding the Geode update for a year just to get everything out of it if you're a completely 100% free-to-play player. I know that's a little bit of an exaggeration. Maybe it would take a month, but you would have to be grinding it non-stop. And more importantly than any of that, it would get boring, you know? Like, I love the Geode update. I really, really do. I think that's a fantastic update. But like a lot of Trove's, issues, I feel that after a good solid week or two of actually grinding it, it gets old, man. And that's kind of the biggest thing with Trove in general, that we're all sitting here, fingers crossed, praying to the RN genie that when they end up releasing U10, it's going to be something that's going to be like, oh, this is actually going to add a proper end game to Trove. You're going to actually feel like an end tier player, feel powerful. Hopefully we get some really, really cool costumes out of it. I'm not even against them increasing our level cap anymore. At first I was kind of off put at the idea that they were going to do it, but now I'm kind of sitting here thinking, if they made level 50 a thing, and at level 40 you would get a new ability, and at 50 maybe you would get augmented abilities of like all of your abilities, not to mention just a really, really awesome costume for each of the characters that's got amazing video effects and really makes you feel like you're a true end game raid like player that just is like, yes, like some generic MMO RPG stuff definitely needs to be infused into Trove. The developers could stand to actually play some other MMOs out there to end up getting some inspiration, like a game like World of Warcraft. I've never played the online World of Warcraft, dude, like seriously, but I know that it's a good game, and looking at end game players, they look absolutely beautiful, whereas something with Trove, they're constantly outputting so much new content that a lot of it just kind of goes to the wayside, and I feel in a lot of ways goes to waste, because it's like, unless it's something that was truly difficult to achieve, like me recently getting to 600 mastery, and actually being able to have that Phoenix mount, it's like in a couple months to maybe a year, when I'm sitting on possibly 700 mastery and I have the new dragon, am I really going to end up using that Phoenix anymore? It's the same as Gonda was another thing that was actually very long-lived. As opposed to most things in Trove. Like Trove just is outputting constant like mounts and new items and stuff like that, to the point where nothing really feels special. And I know that this unboxing video is turning into a bit of a rant about everything that I think is actually wrong with Trove, and I'm sorry about that, guys. I don't mean to go off topic as far as the boxes are concerned, but again, I know that a lot of people watch these, and I wanted to output my voice towards the actual criticisms that I do have towards this game. Now, on the other side, the parts that I do still enjoy about the game are the core game mechanics, and that's the biggest reason why I'm still playing this game. I love the combat. I love being able to play with other players as easy as we can. And generally speaking, I do think that Trove is a recipe for the absolute best online MMORPG that you could ever possibly end up achieving, because not only do we have the fundamentals of really good combat, really good feel of motion, the fact that you can actually jump. Most MMOs don't even have something like that, and if they do, it's like a set block range, and that's just all there is to it, right? But with Trove, we've actually got one up where it's a voxel game where the whole world can end up being custom, and then just generally speaking, the graphics are very, very appealing to me. The only way that another game, like the closest game to Trove for me as far as an MMO is concerned, is Elder Scrolls Online. I think that is an absolutely fantastic MMO, but one of the biggest things that it lacks, and one of my big criticisms about it, is the graphics are the most generic garbage you've ever seen. Like, imagine Elder Scrolls Online if it looked like Dauntless, or if it looked like Fortnite. Wouldn't that be so much better? Like, I'd be playing it, and I like Elder Scrolls Online, I do, but it gets old after a while just because there's nothing really flashy about it. And Trove is one of those games where it's got all the vanity of it, like all the looks. It's got all the things that spell success. Like, if they ended up developing, for example, I've talked about this many, many times, but I think with the amount of community-based content that gets in the games, basically all the dungeons, the majority of the mounts, the majority of the costumes, all of these things aren't even developed by the developers. They're actually made by modders first and end up getting accepted into the game. It's an archaic system that unfortunately is very biased in a lot of ways. It's very difficult for new modders to ever end up breaking into that scene and end up getting a mod accepted, because a lot of the modding community, generally speaking, is very pseudo or elite in their own terms. It's like they've got their very closely knit circle, and they specifically end up talking with the developers rather than the developers outreaching towards just random people. Now, that is where I think one of the things that could make not only the developer's job a lot easier, but just modding in general be a lot cooler, is if they would end up actually going the extra mile of developing a system, we're almost done with our boxes here, so that we could actually get mods voted on in-game, and players could end up reporting them if there's problems, etc., etc. Very similar to if you've seen any of my videos of MapleStory 2. They've actually got like the absolute best. You can make custom clothes in the game, and they're right there in the market. Other players can buy it for the cash shop currency and vote on whether they're good and report them if they're bad, in which case you end up getting in a lot of trouble. And I think Trove could really stand to have something like that, where first of all, everything in the store needs to be worth credits so that free-to-play players have an option of actually getting this, which means that pay-to-play players are going to end up getting, you know, all of the credit pouches as possible, not to mention the issue where the developers have said a few times, not really over and over, about the fact that, oh, we need a subscription fee in this game. That's why we're not really developing that much content. When, I mean, technically speaking, Patron is a subscription fee. Like, it just gives you so many things that it's like you can't really play the game without it. But anyways, I don't mean to rant about any of that stuff. Who cares? We'll save that for another time. Oh my goodness gracious. I was sitting here thinking we would get like 700 and we're sitting over 2,000. Jiminy Crockett. That is absolutely insane. So roughly for all of the dust here, we're sitting on 200,000 water dust. So let's see how many can we actually end up getting, or 180,000, I guess I should say. I'm just gonna end up just doing this outright, like just use the mods advantage, because then we're going to actually see all of this stuff just go. But 180,000 water dust, just whoa! Oh my gosh, it's getting so loud, you guys. We're getting so many uncommons. What's happening? We're going into through time. We actually almost got 100,000. Yes, we in fact got over 100,000 gem dust, and that's like what, 100 of these boxes? Oh my goodness gracious. Well, at least I'm gonna be set for all of these resources. Now, that said, the new gems that are coming around the corner in U10, we know that that's probably going to end up being a whole new gem dust altogether. So possibly we could see these boxes thrown into, whoopsie daisy, thrown into other areas of the game. But we don't entirely know. Like, we're gonna have to wait and see what ends up happening. But man alive, I can't even believe the amount of Bound Brilliance that we ended up getting out of that, which is good. I mean, I've already spent like so much money on this game. I should be rewarded for my efforts. I've spent more money on the boons alone, like in order to upgrade all of my gems. I remember day one of the update when the augmenters came out, and you know, getting the login tokens and stuff. I think it was roughly like $800 to fully max out one character. Now, that hasn't really changed that much because, you know, these tokens themselves, which, come to think of it, we didn't get one lore keeper egg or even the time street, like, carpet mount. That's actually pathetic. Like, the drop rates on those things suck. Okay, well, anyways, we were at 180,000. We're at 560 now. Yikes, I'll take it. Sice plays exposed. And then for the fire dust, we were at like what, roughly 120,000 or something like that. So what do you guys think? You think we're gonna get to 500,000 with this? Maybe just barely? It honestly depends how many lucky rolls we end up getting with the 9,000 or 10,000 dust, I should say, because you can get the 10,000 on karma, but then you can just get it randomly as well, and we're also just getting 1,000 dust here and there. Now, that's the thing, guys. You're sitting here thinking, like, how much dust did I end up having in the first place, let alone now I've got, like, this much. Honestly speaking, I didn't need it. I have all my gems maxed out, and even as far as the Bound Brilliance is concerned, I'm only really going to use it on the new tiers of gems, because I don't have, like, you know, I don't have good enough gems to bother augmenting them on all of my classes, just because of the simple fact that they've either rolled with the bad stats or just in general are not really like that good in terms of like the actual stats that they ended up rolling. You know, I don't have perfect gems on all my classes is what I'm saying. Potentially I could in the future, but it's not really a goal of mine. I guess maybe I could work towards getting that 25,000 or PR on every single character, which, I mean, I guess this will help, but at the same time, the amount of resources that are going to be gotten out of, like, required, I should say, to end up getting these focuses in the first place. 500,000 dust. Yay! That's what I like to see. This is going to be, like, the most overplayed video. So, was this worthwhile? Was this worth $1,400 if they ended up actually keeping these, you know, tokens in the game or something like that? Possibly? I don't know. I mean, at least if you can't really go too wrong with it. Like, out of anything else that you can end up buying in the store for $1,000, at least this kind of sets you for life in terms of like augmenting your gems and getting you gem dust, or you would think that it does. But leveling up your gems eventually ends up costing a whole lot when you get them to the later tiers. So I really don't honestly know how far any of these materials are going to end up even getting me, guys, like seriously. And I mean, that's the thing too. I spent like, I had like 6,000 dragon coins. Now I'm down to like 1,000. So I used a lot of my resources, man. We did not get nearly as much of the air dust. Like, yikes. I wish that we did get to an even 500,000 of the air dust as well. That would be very, very nice. Come on. Come on. Just give me some luck. Just give me some luck. Just 10,000, 10,000, 10,000. Nope. None of them. But I like how out of those boxes, like out of the BOON boxes, we got 11 days of patron pass, which 3 times 11 is a month, 33 days of patron, which is cool. You know, I'm already paying for a yearly patron anyway, so it honestly doesn't matter that I get a free month. I guess it is still pretty cool. I'm just trying to put into perspective that those boxes, they don't visually have that much impact on our character. Like, we got some like 4 super mount stashes, which don't end up unlocking any of the pandas, so it doesn't really matter. Some minor experience tokens, which I guess I'll be able to use these on, you know, when we end up getting a new class in the game. But then we talk about something like, you know, these bad boys right here, and all we really get out of them is just some more dragon coins, which is, it's not like it's bad or anything, but I'm just trying to make a point that for over like $1,000 right there, oh gosh, if it was Canadian, that'd be close to like $2,000, Jiminy Crockett. But we're sitting here with some good Bound Brilliance and some good gem dust, and that's it. That's all that we ended up getting out of it, which is going to have an impact on our character's power, but it's not going to end up having an impact on our character's looks in any way, shape, or form. And again, this brings me to one last criticism that I do have about Trove, in that a lot of the items that you end up actually getting out of the cash shop don't really have any visual impact, and that I feel is something that definitely is lacking. Like, even to the point, like, by the way, with all the dragon coins I ended up spending, I had like 700,000, close to 800,000 cubits, and now I'm down to 150,000 because I spent that much of it just getting the dragon coins here. Well, loot collecting these dragons, which makes you miss like 5 dragon coins every now and then, but it doesn't really matter. My point being, though, I don't mean to digress, is that if we had like a character that was fully augmented up and didn't just see this number, this power rank number, that's pretty much all that you're working towards in Trove. And you don't really get anything for your efforts in terms of actually getting more powerful in this game, outside of, okay, I can get through Shadow Towers a little bit easier depending on the class that I'm using. But I just think that it would be really cool if you actually felt the labor of actually having higher power rank, where we would have like maybe even just something as simple as our character glowing a little bit more, or a lot of these auras that we have on our characters could have actually been used as a means of, oh, you have high power rank, you got this glow about you, you know? But anyways, I don't mean to ramble, guys. This video has already gone on, oh my gosh, it's like half an hour long. Jeez Louise. Also, my computer is starting to explode for some strange reason. I don't know why Trove is taking all my resources. But anyways, thank you so much for watching, guys. Thanks for listening to me. Let me know your opinions on all this stuff. Do you think that I'm right? Do you think that I'm wrong? Do you think that I'm crazy? Do you think that I'm an idiot? I don't really care one way or another, but I do like seeing your guys' feedback and kind of discussing this, because I like getting feedback from, you know, the people that are playing Trove and the people that are watching my videos, which, you know, every now and then I'll end up getting some really good criticisms. But then also, for the most part, we all seem to agree about a lot of things, which I guess is why most of you are coming here to the videos, right? But anyways, who cares? Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, sub, and hit that notification bell for more future videos. I put out videos every single day. And then if you want to support me, you can always sponsor the YouTube channel for a monthly subscription fee, or you can always check out my merch store in the links in the description. Haha, new shirt. Well, it's not really new. But then if you don't have any money, that's okay, because you can always sponsor, well, give me sponsored donations through Gawkbox and Solidarity app. Both of those are in the description as well. You access them through your phone. It's literally going to tell you, play this phone game for 2 minutes. We'll give you $1 that you can give to a content creator. There you go. it takes like 2 minutes of your time, and of course the rewards are varying and the amount of time is varying. Some games just want you to install them, and then you get like 30 cents. Thanks for watching though, guys. Really do appreciate it. Sayonara and stay epic.